meeting of the school committee. We're just in executive session. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, justice for all.
Ask that you remain standing, observe a moment of silence for Finance Committee Chair Teresa Manelli, who was tragically car accident. Or temporarily, I should say, pass over the report, move into our consent agenda. We have approval of minutes, March 11th, 2026.
Sure, yes.
Second.
I just have a few small corrections. One is that Victoria, the middle school rep, her name was misspelled the first time it's mentioned on the first page, in the guest attendance. And then later in the minutes, when the vote on the calendar was taken, it notes that the vote was 6-1, but does not note who was in opposition. And I think that any time there's a non-unanimous vote on anything, that the minutes should reflect who voted. I think just a simple addition to the end of that sentence saying, like, you know, the motion passed 6-1 with Mr. Ragsdale in opposition.
Sure. All right. Thank you. All those in favor of the March as amended? All right. Unanimous. We have approval of the Wilmington High School, Wilmington Middle School band. Brexit. Price. Those in favor? Unanimous. We have second read of policies. I will not list them all for you, but they start with GA and they go all the way down to GCCC. Are there any questions or comments on the policy second read? Hearing none. All those in favor? Unanimous. We have approval of a disposal of surplus equipment from the OIT office. There is a memo in your packet. Motion.
Quick point of clarification.
Please.
When we say disposal, that always includes. Yes, yeah. Usually with this type of equipment, printers might not be recyclable. Someone finds companies to come in, peacefully take it.
Disposal rods. Yes. Yep. Okay, so would somebody like to make that motion, Mr. Turner? Thank you. Second. Mr. Golden. All those in favor? That is unanimous. We have warrants, grants 29 through 32, revolving 48 through 57, local 89 through 105, food service 48 through 54, and 3. We have circuit breakers 17 through 19, special education 49 through 56, payroll March 25th, 2020. Is there a motion?
There were 3 that were excluded. Number 50 involving 92, 49. Some of them were in prior weeks. Some of them were.
Usually better at checking the numbers. Thank you. All right, so say that again. Which ones?
So revolving is 48, 49, and 51 through. Local is 89, 91, 93, 105,
revolving 50 is now local emergency service. Thank you, Mr. Turner, good catch. Would anybody like to make a motion to? Bryson, second. Mr. Agassiz, all those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. Okay, that concludes our consent agenda. Brings us to the superintendent's report. Dr.
Yes, thank you very much. We have a guest with us, Mr. Stewart, who is going to talk to us about dedicating Athletic Hall of Fame, Cushing.
Good evening, Mr. Stewart. Please join us.
David, how are you?
Nice to see you again.
You as well,
Thanks.
ladies and gentlemen.
Appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me. Well, first I wanted to thank the school committee for this displaying. Very much appreciate it. Hope you're pleased with how it came out. We were, and hope you're pleased. It's got some nice expansion capabilities for future Hall of Fame. So here, I think you're aware, I'm sponsoring an article, town meeting. The article conforms with the town bylaws, requiring a town meeting vote on all town property that is named. I sent a letter to the chairman requesting your support on the article. Here tonight to answer any questions you might have and to tell you why I think this is worthy of Jack's name, and hoping to vote support of the Jack is a lifelong resident of Wilmington, Wilmington High School graduate, and incredibly active. And an advocate for the Wilmington High School students 5+ decades. I think of no one in town given more to the community as a volunteer, more deserving of having his name honored permanently. To name a few of the things that he's accomplished in town. So specific to Wilmington High School students and athletes over the past 50 years, he's a founding member of the Wilmington High School Athletic Hall of Fame, member since its existence. He's inducted as a benefactor to the Wilmington High School Athletic Hall of Fame, founder of the Wilmington High School Athletic Alumni Association, member of the Wilmington Boosters. He's coordinated every induction in the Wilmington High School Athletic Hall of Fame. He's a concession stand volunteer for decades. If you haven't had his chocolate chip cookies, decent enough for you. It's up to Dave there. He's also the coordinator of the Junior Rotarian program at the high school, coordinator of the Rotary Interact Club, 25 years as an advisor to Rotary Interact members, sponsor of the Larry Cushing Memorial Scholarship, Wilmington High School graduate, very proud Wilmington Wildcat, coordinator. He is, I think most importantly, specific to the display. He is the coordinator. This was his baby. His idea to do this display, talking about it for several years. He was the one that came up with the idea, coordinated all of the fundraising, worked with subcommittee, myself, Bob Saran, Bob Woods, and the whole committee, really get this thing moving forward and constructed. And also been, over the years, a big part of the community. He was the chairman of the Recreation Commission, ran the town adult softball league down at the town park for many, many years. He was the chairman of the 4th of July Committee, Rotarian, Wilmington good guy. This article, by the way, is supported unanimously by the Wilmington High School Athletic Hall of Fame Committee. And lastly, I think it would be a very special tribute to have the display named in Jack's honor right outside the Wilmington High School Gymnasium. It's named in memory of his dad, Larry Cushing. Happy to answer any questions. What tonight? Our meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions, comments, observations? Dr. McCullough.
Yeah. Case seems like he did a lot and everything. I was wondering if you can tell us, like, obviously, person and stuff.
He says, what, I call him in our committees I've been on with, he is the ambassador of everything.
Yeah, the mayor.
That's the
Yeah.
guy he is. I won't say all. He's been, you know, helping the kids in town, been on committee boards and commissions for 50, 60 years now. He's just a tremendous guy, tremendous family guy. Help anybody out, if you call him up and say, and I remember one great example. Road school, town hall, field. Pop Warner was looking to make that kind of their home. What's got to be 35 years ago. He put fences, lights up. Jack Cushing went out. He got people to donate the lights. And he and a bunch of us got together and put the fence up. He had a guy that's Agio. That's just the type of thing Jack does. He's a doer.
Just a quick comment that this whole thing from the Athletic Hall of Fame is clearly such a labor of love. And I just really want to express our appreciation and gratitude to the Hall of Fame committee for just all of the volunteer work you've done, certainly to all the people who donated the funding to make that a reality. A real testament.
Thank you. I am, just so you know, I have retired from the Hall of Fame, so I'm now dedicating my life to all the 3 grandchildren and grandparents, me and my wife. But thank you. I will certainly pass that along to the committee, and it certainly was a labor of love, and glad you guys enjoyed it.
And I don't know, he's a terrific person, everything he said. And he, I think, I love celebrating people and their accomplishments. That my hesitation is actually, well, I think in general, if I were to, just speak from my personal experience, I've often found I worked at schools where there were mostly after men going to school primarily female. So I don't want to get into that as much, though. As for me, I am, and I think that it's something I love that it's an academic. I would love an academic Hall of Fame as well. The Athletic Hall of Fame, for me, once it's named after somebody, it's funny. It feels to me that like the person's thing. So and it's not meant to be a negative toward the person. I just prefer to celebrate the community rather than me personally. I very much love that in our town. None of the schools are named after a person. They're named after the street or something, right? But that's just where I stand. I would prefer it to say the Wilmington, Athletic Hall of Fame, but then find a way to still celebrate and anyone else as well who has.
In fact, I feel that he is kind of a step above. I really think this is a very appropriate thing to be named after. Very appropriate.
So I think follow that up, and I know we talked a little bit briefly. So the idea for the presentation was us, background, behind the town meeting warrant, right? You and I talked a little bit, at the last meeting that we had, education committee's sort of sense was that perhaps we need to policy things for folks. That said, this is a warrant article this year's. So I think, while I don't think the committee is necessarily ready to vote today, I would like us to consider this and make a recommendation for town meeting. I think that's important. So the policies might not have a date yet, but it's talked about specifically to review this policy maker.
Good deal. We'll be looking at it on.
Perfect. But that's it. Questions?
Again, to the Hall of Fame, that incredible display. We certainly went through a lot to make sure it was going to fit properly, and every time I walk by there, someone's game, and it's a really nice tribute. You know, I know Mr. Cushing, he's a staple at high school. I don't think he misses a football game, his own special seat. And it's just obviously a tremendous asset for our community. I'm excited to see kind of where this goes next. And to honor him in this way, knowing that he was the one responsible for bringing this. And I hear my other things, we've had a lot of conversations about the naming of things. So I understand the hesitation on that thought around where does it end? Who do we do, but I also feel like this is sort of, for me, an exception. Not that we have a rule that we're following, but feels like an exception to the rule. So thank you for being here, and I'm glad that you were able to give us more insight into all. I knew a lot of that, but I didn't know all of that. So it's just, I feel like the list there are things I think I know that weren't even on that list. So he is just incredibly giving and generous, and I don't think once you get to the high school, I think in some way touches the lives of every kid who's there, regardless of what sport they play or school. So thank you for being here. We
Humble as well, because this was a list I came up with. He wasn't really.
Yeah.
Very humble guy. So
Well, I was going to
appreciate
ask, is he comfortable with this?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Oh, very much so, yes.
He's not maybe pushing this, but willing to accept it.
He is very honored that we would
Consider it.
naming this after him, and incredible.
Can I ask, I know you said you've removed yourself from the Hall of Fame a little bit. Have they spoken with Hendren or Mr. Ingram? Sort of, they feel about this?
I can check for you, Mr. Chairman. I check with Mrs. Smith. I can't say just actually whether they've spoken to him or not. I'll talk to Mr. Smith, copy him on you guys on an email, so he directly with you.
That'd be great.
Work?
Yeah, thank you. Anything else? Appreciate it.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
We'll be in touch.
Thank you.
I just want to point out that I wrote down the 3 Gs and that in the future.
That was great.
Dr. Thompson, you have one more item on the superintendent's report.
I do. It's a very exciting piece of news. The district, in coordination with Left Field, Dora Whittier, and Fontaine Brothers, has successfully advanced the Wilmington Elementary School project through the design development, AKA the DD phase, and recently submitted the design development package to the MSBA. This milestone represents the first of 4 formal submissions during the construction development documentation phase, as required by MSBA, to ensure continued alignment with the project as approved by both the MSBA and the community. The submission reflects a full alignment with the project presented last fall, with the design further refined through ongoing collaboration with user groups, town departments, community stakeholders. These efforts have resulted in minor layout refinements while maintaining the improved educational program, overall square footage, and the project's original education. As part of the submission, 2 independent construction cost estimates were prepared based on the design development documents and reconciled within 1.62% of exceptional tight alignment for this stage of design. Based on this reconciliation, the project remains on budget. In parallel with the design development submission, Fontaine Brothers, the construction manager, is preparing to mobilize in late June to initiate early enabling work at the North Intermediate School site. For those interested in the design development report, comprising of approximately 2,900 pages, and an additional 2,800 pages of specifications and 319 drawings, just a little light reading, by the way. This has been posted to the project website for review. More submissions coming up between now and when ground is broken, all the way from this point to actual construction. A lot of work. Congratulations to them, working with excellent partners.
Congratulations to the building committee for what is clearly an impressive milestone. Anybody on the building committee want to add any color or flavor to that? Mr. Axel?
I do want to just quickly add that in addition to the project being on budget, it's currently carrying about $10 million of contingency funding to be able to potentially absorb rising costs and other unexpected changes, prices, and still stay within both on budget and has a healthy contingency fund.
Question? Thank you, Dr. Johnson.
Yep.
Concluding the superintendent's report, that moves us to public comment. There was one public comment that was submitted in advance of the meeting, which is in our packets. No community members have signed up in advance to attend the meeting, but as we always do, we will open the floor to comments. Hearing none, we can conclude public comment and move into new business. First item on our agenda is a special education report. We have Ms. Christine Murray and Ms. Maura Kilbride joining us from the Office of Student Support Services. Good evening, welcome. My understanding is we might have a special guest with us, so we're excited for that.
We will bring him up in just a moment.
Excellent.
Thank you, Thompson, and thank you to the committee for allowing us the opportunity to provide some information on our special education district. My name's Christine Murray. I'm the Director of Student Support Services. We'll be providing an update on our programming. So we'll be talking about our student highlights. We'll introduce our special guest. We will be talking about our early success organization, what our office looks like, some special education data, district, you, development opportunities that we have for staff, our data meetings that have been really exciting this year, and moving forward with our focus as a department. So with that said, start the presentation to introduce a student that we have with us tonight as our high school student representative from the postgrad program. I personally have the privilege to work alongside of Maddie since our elementary school years. So it's truly remarkable to see him here tonight and the success that we've had in all the years. He has a special presentation that he wants to share. Can you talk a little bit about the postgrad program?
Hi, my name is Maddie. I'm 20 years old and I'm in the postgrad program at Wilmington High School. In the postgrad program, we are working on becoming independent adults. We learn about money, budgeting, and banking. We even got to go to a bank and see how everything works. We also practice cooking for ourselves, which means we plan our meals, go to the grocery store, and follow the recipes to make the food. We get to go to work sites to learn new skills. Some of these places include Ace Hardware, Marriott Hotel, Town Hall, the Boys and Girls Club of Woburn, Alaros. We know this will help us get better jobs in the future. We also get to do lots of fun stuff and be social. We learn to step outside of our comfort zones to participate in new experiences with our friends. We join other postgrad programs from other towns for our bowling league, movie outings, dances. It's fun to meet new people. I feel that the postgrad program has taught me many new skills that will help me. Ace, Boys and Girls. So first Friday of each month is bowling at Metro Bowling. Then the second Friday is movies at Foster.
A question for Maddie. What do you do at Ace Hardware when?
Help out customers, pull things forward, which is
Maybe I'll run into you there when I'm. I always don't have enough bags. Say hi. Thank you so much, Maddie.
Very much, Maddie.
That's terrific.
Nice to see you.
nice to see
So
you
happy
too,
when you-
Ms. Tyson.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
But
To give a brief overview. It's really complex structure from our office. So in addition to special education programming, our office oversees health, counseling services, Section 504, preschool, civil rights, and community foster care at Wilmington University. But today's is the special education. So if you look at special data, we will start kind of looking nationally what that looks like. And the data shows that there's a 12.6 increase in the number of students qualifying for special education between 2019 and 2024. So about 8.2 million students ages 3 to 21 qualify for services that have been individuals with disability act. In 2025, which shows that steady increase.
anything.
Following along with that amount of data, so talk about the growing needs. Shows the growing needs of special education, ability, and trends. Wilmington, like many schools, is impacted by the number of students with disabilities on the rise. Why is that happening? You know, we have early identification of disabilities, universal screening increasing, increase of focus on students. And so all of this impacts districts, including our own, and that word budget there, the impact it has on. We honor the best needs of the students. Did of that, Maddie said.
This next slide now comes to the state level. So the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education provides what we call resource allocation district action report. And typically, districts. So in the most recent report from March 2005, state data, with Wilmington's data shown below for comparison. Overall, the report shows that students with disabilities make up 19.7% of enrollment in Wilmington, which is below the state average. Out of percent of the state. And in terms of disability categories, if below there's a there, the most common identified disability in Wilmington is specific learning disability. It's indicated here as D, which is consistent with the state, though identified as slightly higher locally. Autism is the second common category, identified at a slightly lower rate in Wilmington compared to the state. And the third most common category is closely aligned with state trends, with communication being the third highest in Wilmington, all at state level.
This slide here really speaks specifically to initial evaluation. The first column speaks about this year to date, not the full year. And the third column is a year ago. And so the slide shows data specifically to initial eligibility, referral meetings, and overall outcome of these. Last school year and this current school year, the data shows the referral source of initiation, the meaning was the referral source. So on parent referral, 11, but I will say, sorry, let me go back a bit. The first column, total initial so far to date is 178. Last year, for the entire year, and then so forth. The parent referral, student support team are the main referrals that we do get. Typically, you'd see the others identified as others, and the others would be kindergarten screening, early intervention, EI, DCI. And I think what I'd like to point out too, as far as today, since we submitted this yesterday, the total initial evaluations is up to 182. Parent referrals is up to 114. So the data changes constantly. And what I'd like to point out in the middle is just data points of the total initial evaluations over the last 5 years. See it increase, we have that bubble year of fall year 2022, but the number kind of is a carryover from the previous year. That's
Governor, NS, slide.
Thank you. Did I not write that out there? My apologies. Outcome of finding of no special need.
Okay, all right, thank you.
This slide speaks to the programs that we offer in order to best support students who are eligible. Our district is going to offer a lot. And we have it listed here, kind of going from least restrictive is where we would always like to start at possible in the least restrictive environment to support our students. That would be inclusion and learning center, and inclusion then is students being supported in their content area, in their called B-Grid services. So they're in the general ed environment, being supported as they're needed based on the team during that. Next is the integrated preschool, and that's for our early childhood. And so in the early childhood center, the integrated preschools, some students are in the program, are in the integrated preschool through the lottery, and then we have other students, early childhood, who are found eligible, and the eligibility has determined that they need time in the integrated preschool to receive their services. And then the drive-in services are for those early childhood students who, when going through eligibility, determined that their skills that they are in services, what we call related services, so they would be drive-in to receive the services, occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech and language. So that's the drive-in services, and that's, we say, the service provider location. That would be in the OT room, grade appropriate speech and language. The next program that we highlighted there is our STRIDES program, which in Wilmington, those are our students who have been in disability area, autism, and requiring ABA, applied behavior analysis, and that just kind of creates a structured day, structured routine in their day to help them skills that they need to be supported. And then we have the language-based classroom have been identified with a specific learning disability, or an SLD, as you'll often hear it termed, and that would be identified in the area of reading, writing, and they would receive the service from our language-based support. Some students would need, depending on what they need, they might just receive direct service just in the language-based need, the literacy reading. Others would need more support. They would need more of a language-based program, so they would get some of the support on the content areas outside of the general ed. That's just a few of our programs. The next slide has a few more.
If you look, all the programs, and we've expanded these programs since 2017 significantly is our programming. They are similar. Going to be working on is to really align these programs, offering descriptions. But basically, the programs are for students identified with disability as a result of their disability. Coping strategies often become dysregulated, and the needs might look different at each level. It's a general programs that support students with disabilities. At the secondary level, we do have
life skills program. This is more for students with intellectual that require significant level and curriculum. And we have our post-grad. We provide that experiential and educational opportunities. Just like over our program. Next slide really dives into this program in Wilmington. So as Maura mentioned, sticking with the Beltwell ECC, the drug services are at that level. School. Every level we have in centers. Each area, it will be called a little bit different names too. That is another area of focus. Support students. All this room, so that where the majority of our students receiving support in the inclusion program. Sports, Dillingham and seeing included room. Grades starting at grade 1. 12th, we have our programming classroom in the west, the north. Support our students. In the orange again, you can see our social emotional programming, names, 12, support students, school, 2 different classrooms, school, classroom. Also, high school, we have a bright transition program, so that students that struggle coming back, severe medical, that they have to clinical staff, our general staff to get the student back into the classroom. Strides programming in there. Wildwood, Shawsheen, so the Wildwood has classrooms. Shawsheen has 2. He has 1, and for an additional classroom next year for the up from that Wildwood strand. The West has a classroom, middle school and high school. Secondary school and high school skills program to support students. School week. But this was an important slide to share. I gave some advice on this. This was brought up in the budget. I felt like this was important to bring up for everyone, just to really show we have those 9 specialized programs. Chart on the description of the program. It has the number of classes that we have to support this program. So there are 30 classrooms total, servicing 140 students. Definitely a more intensive program that has additional staff needed, additional A's. Some students require one-to-one support. The total number of teachers in the program is 29. The ed assistants are 1. Sorry, the ed assistants are 50. These programs do offer our students to remain in district and provide a support that we can provide. So have qualified additional staff.
Our office is our office takes great pride in our relationship. And that's been ongoing, and I've been the privilege to attend the meetings of my 3 meetings. They're a wonderful group. They're there to support families and the broader community on special education services. They meet regularly. All meetings are posted on the website and help to support, send out information regarding their CPAC meetings. They're continuing to look for members to attend. I know many of you here have attended CPAC meetings as well. Familiar with that. And we encourage families to participate and support with CPAC. They can and, be an available resource to the members of the community. And they have workshops, and as a matter of fact, there's a workshop tomorrow being hosted by CPAC. It's being hosted by the CPAC, but it's a presentation by the Bureau of Special Education, deals the BESEA, and it's on mediation for families. And so for any information regarding CPAC, they do, as I said, have a page on the website, and we just want to encourage they're a valuable resource for the community, and they would love any support members participate in their meetings. And they're a nice crew of people.
You do have an upcoming meeting.
Oh, yes, sorry.
Urgent. Join.
Yep.
Also, I know you do a presentation to the school committee, really out CPAC to attend, so that hopeful that they'll do here beginning of next year to provide more information on their services.
The next slide is talking about or showing some of the professional development that we have had ongoing with Landmark, the Bloom Method app, and teaching. We continue to offer PD in a variety of ways, and this slide is showing three areas. Landmark Outreach Program we've been working with Landmark, and they've been with the district for several years. And in that time, the primary focus has been providing staff consults to our language-based teachers, and to our language-based programs, looking at alignment. As a matter of fact, when we had a CIT last January, there was a wonderful opportunity where we gathered the language teachers from across the district, and they had an opportunity which I do not think had been presented before, but all of our language-based teachers worked together to be able to share what's happening in their classrooms, resources that they use. Ask questions about scheduling, all these things, and the feedback that we got from the special education teachers who were part of that and administrators stopped in was really a powerful together. So Landmark will continue to do that. We'll continue with them as we move forward to next year. We're really going to do a focused, really, rather than a broad kind of consultation, really focusing on building, supporting that elementary level of the foundation of what language-based needs should look like, and build that, and then be able to build upon that moving forward. So the elementary staff are really excited, the team chairs, and as we are excited, and Landmark's really looking forward to that as well. Alan Bloom has been a guru in special education for a number of years, and he has created the Bloom Method, and with that, he has now created the Bloom Method app. Wilmington has been utilizing the Alan Bloom style of developing IEP quite some time. We've had several trainings throughout the years. And the Bloom app is available now to all staff. Training has been provided by the Bloom app staff on how best to use and access the resources and the training available on the app. There are a number of available resources, and it continues to grow. There are PD for a number of different sources for a number of different staff, from all things related to IEPs, all things related to special education. And I don't know now if it's every week or every month, they are adding something new, so the PD opportunities continue to grow. And all staff members have access to that. And there's plenty of PD videos for all staff to use, and the implementation of IEP services courses quite extensive. And co-teaching is our next ongoing professional development. Again, I think co-teaching has been a conversation in this district for a long time, and we are working closely with SEAM to have co-teaching be a focus for the district. SEAM has been consulting with staff, team members who are working to do co-teaching. We have a pair of teachers working together as part of their evaluation method of piloting different co-teaching opportunities and methods, and SEAM is continuing to work with them on that, looking at schedules, looking at resources, and then also the beginning of the year, the Inclusion Coach Book Club. So I wrote the book down, but I don't have it in my Thank you. And strategies for success. And so our SEAM consultant created a book club, and a number of staff who were interested in co-teaching and learning more were part of that book club, and they came away with lots of ideas and implications to move forward. So I think in conjunction with this office and Christine, like working together to really create what is co-teaching, how do we make it successful, and moving forward, and SEAM has been important to support us with that. Very exciting opportunity.
Some more ongoing professional development. Continuing our partnership with the hospital, they provide consultant services to our clinical staff, which is in also our special education programs. It's consultation, they have disability awareness. We also have engagement piece, our leaders in youth and mental health series for teachers to access as well as families. It's an ongoing library. There's on-demand videos that we have share after the live event, so you can access. We are also really to training assessments for our staff, so evaluations with paper copies, really technology. Start assessments on the iPad, surveying your staff more. Supplemental academic assessments. So some things right now. Consultation with SEAM in various ways. They support SEER. Upcoming workshops, procedures, and issued that will help districts, including Wilmington. So it's on him out. Really, it's proactive. Our general ed teacher, seeing, working, seeing to create some of these moving forward.
You mentioned earlier the data meetings we've been having. Data meetings have been going on, general education for quite some time. And there have been discussion between Christine and our office of special ed data meetings. And so this year we were able to, it has been, I think, it's been an exciting opportunity to really look at the data that's driving our instruction. So the special education, along with general education, our literacy coach, and the team chairs and ourselves and the team, really coming together to really analyze the gen ed data and how it's impacting our special ed students. And so through these meetings, we've had a beginning of the year, an end of the year, beginning of the year, middle of the year, I forgot the middle. Middle of the year, we'll do an end of the year meeting data with our cohorts of staff. And we've been able, with this data, really look at identifying what are the resources we have in district that are working, what are additional resources that we need, what are additional trainings that we need. In that, you mentioned the training of our special education staff, Orton, Gilling, Wilson, and we're growing in that number to support our students. And so this has been a really good experience for all, and we'll continue with this. With the data meetings and developing the resources and things that we need. Next year, through our conversations with the teachers, they're really looking for more training, more information, more resources specifically related to math, and that's going to be a focus. That had a focus of literacy this first time around, but there's more that needs to be done. We're thankful for the opportunity and the success we feel expect.
So in addition to some of the initiatives that we're working on, there is some oversight from what we call public school monitoring. So this is when the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education will see districts, they're called LEAs, so our education agencies. So part of that would be conducting an integrated monitoring review we're up for this year. So specifically in civil rights and special education, every 3 years, either cycle A or B. Currently, we're in cycle B this year. So they cover some indicators, but 6 years, all indicators touched upon. Steve and I started the meeting and going on with civil rights, special education. So the civil rights is this, and the special education, we will start to download some information. It will all be due prior to, would say next to the fall. When everything will be special. So we're starting the process, we're starting the training. There are 3 phases to the trainings, to the monitoring. So discovery, really be us uploading those documents. Staff would review that and develop a plan for on-site. A lot of engagement, the interviews, either virtually with our staff, person, record, stations, and then they'll have that closed out correct. Towards, this really shows the specific indicators that under special education, the criteria we're looking at. So for instance, we would have to special education license. You know, that we've been working on. We work with our building principals to come up with facilities, service provider, classroom. So it really is too. This is an opportunity for us as a district to really see where we're at with this and if there are any. So this is a leadership collaborative. Moving forward, that is an opportunity. I'm just have that on here as part of our integrated monitoring that really is going to help us with the focus groups. I've been meeting with various stakeholders, elementary schools. It's been a highlight. Staff. I talked with the central office leadership team, hoping to get. So this has been really a highlight, just focusing on what are the strengths of the department, weaknesses. So we're just working with this focus group meetings. We're going to continue with our school-based data meetings. Maybe even increasing. So right now, we're doing grades 1 to 5. What does that look like? It's, levels, looking at the integrated monitoring review, which I spoke about, enhancing our multi-tiered system of supports, academic and non-academic. Are with this, with our strategic planning, principals, a lot of staff, academic supports. We'll have a school, staff, monitoring, school level, district, and suits happening. Ongoing classroom observations, building being visible, what we often love to do, and we want to continue to do that. Focus in on each building. More just spoke about the co-teaching model and landmark. Procedure guidance is our next step. We'll be bringing the school committee with updated policies and procedures. We'll be training our staff. These new procedures will go into August. You know, we have our attorney coming to train our staff and leadership team in May. We will be back at the looking at those proactive strategies. How can we support our staff? The demands recently complex needs of our students. So it all kind of aligns together in our work. Focusing on. So the ongoing professional development, we always like to survey our families at the beginning of the year. So a lot of opportunities with CIT, doing our professional survey with our staff as well. So what areas of staff with training, the focus on practices. We learning and our supports and how support our teachers. The elementary school building project is help support our programming. And so really looking forward to continuing that planning. Let's have our work with each school on that side of town, the curriculum improvement time, start building relationships. Let's get the staff together. Really work on what that looks like. You're going to be working together. So there's been some nice work already starting between the schools. Obviously, staff recruitment and retention is ongoing and priority. And this was film and special education leadership and instruction this and recommendation has started to really work together. Recommendations are going to be special education, staffing, student outcomes. So last but not least, Maura has been valuable to our district. She's been in education for years, been in the district for 2 years, and be retired. Here that was supportive of, happy that you about our students. So doing that. So those are just some of the key focus areas that we're looking at. It's a lot of information, very big topic. We really want to, key in on some highlights and things that are.
Thank you both very much. Specifically, Maura, congratulations. Retirement, thank you for everything. I doubt anybody has any questions. That was very comprehensive. But, that said, anybody has questions or comments? Mr. X.
So thank you again, Mark. Tremendous. So many. This used to be called CPR, right? The Coordinated Program Review. Did they change the name when I wasn't
They
looking?
did, yeah.
You're just monitoring that now.
Okay. Name word. So I have maybe two questions. One is, and this is probably that, so on the north side, we have stages, and on the west side, we have stepping stones. We talk about why we have different names for programs that are do other things.
The program creation at that to help some anxiety-based behaviors that we're being able to stepping tense behaviors. To be honest, seeing needs increase on both sides of town. And, department. It's what. How can we allow? And this is an opportunity to move to a new building. So this is organized the middle school, all levels.
And I wanted to comment and ask a question about the percentage of students in special education down. Pointed out earlier, below the state average. Education, Wilmington used to be above the state average, for kind of substantially. So that number is down. What that says to me is that we now have MTSS, and we have other interventions that can be used for students who previously might have been pushed into an evaluation and a full IEP or plan because we didn't have those other tiers of interventions. And so it's kind of like, well, if you need something beyond that, this is what we have. We have special education. And now there are some other things that we can do short of that, which to me is a really positive thing. Not that just in itself that getting like the percent, I mean, the goal is not to have as few special education identified students as you can. The idea is for all students to get what they need. But I think that to me, that says that we're offering things that we didn't offer before. So where, students who previously, it's like, again, that was the only game in town. Now there are some other games in town we have to offer. Is that correct? And what are some?
It's definitely part time, but I think I'd like that too. I think we become strong special ed team overall. It's harder.
ST has become stronger with the MTSS. But I think
Also eligibility, I think we're really tightened up the process of assessment and the outcome assessment and reviewing the process and going through the eligibility process. So I think we've done more learning than that. And so I think that's also part of the decrease, but I think most importantly, I think that the general support that is available to our students from all areas is really significant.
Rolly.
Thank you. Yeah, so I have a couple questions. Thank you for the very comprehensive and detailed presentation on special services here. So thanks a lot. And also thank you for all your service here.
No,
Oh, yeah, I do golf, not a grand. Oh, grandkids, so.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna golf. Golf. I'm gonna go.
So my first question is, wondering if you can explain the process of finding no special needs is concluded. So how does this typically work? How is this initiated? And then how do these get concluded when it seems to be maybe some issue prompted?
But again, it's an eligibility process, so we do the assessment, and there are key questions.
We really look at the flow chart, the eligibility flow chart, where it's going to go through eligibility.
After we go through, I think after. So when a student has a suspected area disability, whether it be referral or whatever the referral source is, we would evaluate in that suspected area disability. And so if it were reading assessments, academic assessments, if it was concerned with fine motor, we would do OT assessments. So whatever it is, we would assess in that area. And when we do the assessments, we would then come together as a team, we do all the assessments. We have to answer a series of questions to determine the child's health. So the first thing we need to determine, based on the assessments and the experts at the table, I'll take them all that data, determine is there a disability? And if we say yes, if we say no, we stop there. Student is not eligible, we can't answer the first question. So that would be finding special needs. If we say yes, the first question, there is a disability, we can go to the next question, we would say, is the student making effective progress? And then there's a discussion among the team, what is effective progress? And so that becomes a broad discussion. And it's not just grade, it's about curriculum, it's broad discussion. And so if we say, so yes, they have a disability, and yes, they're making effective progress, and that's also another special needs. They have a disability, but they don't require making effective progress. Third question would be, do they require specially designed instruction? And so, and that's where we think about the difference of 504 and the IEP. 504 is student has a disability or diagnosis that's recognized, but in order to access curriculum, they need accommodation. They don't need special design instruction, they need accommodation. They don't need modifications in the day or modifications in the content. And so when we get back to the IEP, if they're require specially designed instruction, then they would be eligible for an IEP. But if they didn't require specially designed instruction, again, no conflict specialty. So it's not based on thought or emotion. It's really, it's a data-driven decision and conversation about that data. That would support the outcome of that IEP. The student is eligible, we write an IEP. The student is not eligible because one of those questions was
Okay, yeah, no, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Thank you for explaining. Just then a follow-up from that. What happens then, issue?
So the information, so when the evaluator is writing a report, they have a series of recommendations. And so we are actually, that's a good question, we are working on establishing a better system of communication of having those recommendations shared to the building as well. So they're not assuming it requires IEP services, but the evaluators, usually our district evaluators, have taken the time to create recommendations that would best support us. We want to make sure those recommendations are shared with the school-based team, and that could be an IEP, it could be more accommodations. So I think the key, we talk about parents being perhaps dissatisfied with that part of it. I think we have recognized that communication coming out in those reports, we need to have a better system to share that information. So that has been a conversation that we've had. So I know we'll get there. So I think that's going to ease, I think, some of the negative outcome of meetings. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, thank you. Just understanding how this process works. I think I also like suggestion. School. Explain. Other question. One of the focuses I saw in your slides was ongoing professional development for staff. I've had the unfortunate experience of hearing stories from some community members that some of the 501, it's in place, but some teachers and staff. Just wondering, this focus that was presented, what specifically teachers and staff?
But will continue to happen. In special ed perspective, if we have department meetings, each year from department meetings, with all special education staff to talk about issues all related to special ed. There's any concerns like that we hear, just reminders of the importance and the legal aspect of needing to follow the IEP requirements. We have department meetings, led by teachers. Teachers are in the building, so they're visible and useful, resource. We have office hours to speak with any member of staff, whether it be a general teacher or a special education teacher, related service provider, to ask these kind of questions. There's observations, teachers, evaluators, observing and supporting teachers in that way. From an office level, we have weekly department meetings or, like I said, team chair meetings where we talk about these issues and then support our team chairs to be able to go up to their school to support their teachers. Our teachers also have weekly meetings, or regular meetings, I don't know if we do regular ongoing meetings with the building-based principal to talk about these concerns and support with the observations. So I think a lot of natural things are part of our week, our days, to be able to support teachers and special ed in this manner. And then you were
No,
gonna say
no, we
something?
do at the beginning of the year
Oh, thank you.
during our staff, come in, they meet with the liaisons. They have to sign that they invite in the IEPs.
located in Aspen. The access. At our new teacher orientation, what the general responsibilities are. Principals.
Thank you. So it seems like there's systems, just a couple times things may, it seems like there's also some, in case something slipped. It's more, people need.
Okay, just, well, because I was also, I'm wondering about collaboration, both general and special ed together. Special ed teachers well informed of the student, and the students in a general classroom on how the level of training and understanding, and it's a lot, right? They have a lot of students, so I understand the challenge, but I was curious about if that maybe that's a route, or if that's happening for both gen ed and special ed together, so gen ed and how to meet the students' needs as well.
I love that you said that. Often. Oh, pick your own PD opening day is to create a workshop, an opportunity, and they're playing with the ideas exactly what it'd be called, but like special education for general educators and providing that opportunity. And we would do the same for special education for special education teachers, because we can all use refreshers all the time. Our world is happening so fast, and the details of what we need to do on a daily basis increases. So it is something we're really focused on in our office too, recognizing we pride ourselves, and we really do, on being a resource and being available. And I mean, I have gen ed teachers reaching out to me saying, can you clarify this for me? Or they'll go to their team chairs. Like it's an open door, like it's talked about being transparent. But there's more to be done. And I think as we, work together, and I really feel like this year is really more of it, like general education and sort of special education working together. I think we're all seeing the same things, and we're trying to collaborate more, and I think our data meetings are just an essential piece of that. So those are a couple opportunities that I know our own team chairs are working towards next year.
So what are the biggest challenges facing special services?
As far as service. Like, group, really.
Why don't I ask one of them? Perfect. Okay, I don't want to take
I'll just sit here.
Sorry, did you so I'll just try and, but I have just a question about the parent referrals that had findings. So we listed, parent referral, no special needs, 25, 26 so far. And there were 111 referrals, which means there were 73 parent referrals that had findings. Is that correct? And then is that correct? And then two, that seems high to me, but is that, I guess, I don't know what to compare that to in terms of, is there Is there an average? Is there something that we can look at and say, oh, other districts have this? To me, as a, that seems high, but I don't know if I'm reading it correctly.
I mean, I think the interesting. Everyone has a right to do a referral, right? So it is our student support service team. That's our obligation, or that we're to see students suspected disability that we are referring them. But parents also have that obligation at. So you're asking specifically if it's, I mean.
Specific, so as it, like I would expect if the student support team forward a referral.
Yep.
I would expect that number to be not the same, but more like, okay, parent putting that referral forward. In some ways, it's, I may not be getting what I need quickly enough, or I may not be, and so, but very often when parents put those, they don't have the full understanding of special education, learning disability, all of those pieces. And so I guess I was expecting the number of referrals of no special needs to be higher than it is. Does that make sense? Because it's almost like, ooh, so I'm thinking with MTSS, did we miss something? Shouldn't that have gone to the support team? Shouldn't that number sort of be more in line? But also, that's a lot of findings for a parent referral, I guess, so it's a little concerning.
With our SST, are having an SST, but a parent. Or a parent will refer, and staff haven't, but we're automatically doing that. Obviously, more right out when we get a referral on this, implement strategy, not waiting the 30 days at this evaluation.
The interesting thing is the two different pieces of data. So in 24-25, less than half of the parent ones followed up with an evaluation. So 80 out of 149 were no, whereas in 25-26, your point, only 38 out of 111, so a lot more. So that seems like a really wide variance from one year to the next. So might be, if we look back at the 5 years, just in the middle column, the parent piece, is it really variable, or is it 1 year versus the next? There's a particular thing for some reason. I think raising a really interesting point about how many this year were yeses. The prior year was a pretty different ratio, so maybe it's just an anomaly. Maybe last year was the anomaly. This year is more common. I don't know if we feel how data, but that would be a way to look at it for.
I think it'll be interesting on that note to see what are the end of the year numbers. What is that going to look like compared to last year? And as you said, analyzing other years in the middle lane. Yeah.
Pass it over.
Gold, first of all, thank you both for all your work. District, added a question, I had a list from the presentation, I added one of your responses. Effective progress, have this here. Is that defined, is that a legal term?
It's a broad legal term.
Data by?
It's a broad legal term, and we're continuously looking at it, discussing. And, right, because I think often in these meetings we have, what is effective progress is a question, well, I think it's this, I think it's this. And so we really look at the data really globally, and really it's student-specific for each IEP meeting that we're going through of eligibility. So we continue to work on that in the special ed office, as well as working to help at meetings understand it, having parents understanding, having gen ed teachers. So often we have that, what is effective progress? It's an ongoing conversation.
So if I follow up, it sounds, so it's a legal term, but for each child it's different. It's not like their grades improved by this percentage, or measure their SEL experience, and that's different. It's quantifiable. So it really is kind of the eye of a very professional, very expert.
Student-specific.
Okay. And then is there a baseline established for the students? Sorry about that. By which then the progress is? Like, is it, okay, we're all.
If we found them eligible?
Right. Oh, right, then right, okay.
Yep.
Right. Thank you. Of course.
We've changed the. So you're thinking about, are they making effective progress in order to be potentially eligible for special education? So I think that is qualified. I think that there are grade level standards. And so if a child is not meeting the grade level standard, and it's clear, and they're not meeting, so is the disability affecting that? Yes, right, but if they're making progress, if they're meeting those grade level standards, so even if they have a disability, but they're actually meeting grade, so that's, so when you're determining, you can see, and after they decide, yes, they can meet, then the progress is a little bit different. Oh, what's your goal? How are you meeting it? But in terms of, are they making effective progress? We can look at all this work and see very, very clearly who's making progress with the grade level standards and who's not. How many words are they doing per minute? One thing, right? What's their comprehension? Another thing. So those are ways you can tell. So if your child is not near that grade level, that would be something like by how to find effective progress.
I have more, but
I feel like
so I've heard that in other districts, and it's a common experience just regarding our experience of having a service disruption. We had the OT situation where we're tired, and we all talk about this that way. And I think kind of building up Dr. McCauley's point where, you know, there's a scenario where services aren't delivered, or and when we try to explain the kind of legality and requirements to our staff, but do we, as a district, track each child's kind of missed number of hours? Say that, you know, Tommy's supposed to get X number of hours, 5 hours a week. Maybe that's like a while. But you know what I'm saying? Do we then have year-to-year data of how much we missed? Just like cumulative hours that were delivered and ways to do that.
So each, service provider has a service log that they push out their students, service delivery, and in this service, we would have to do a parents would be informed to process what you said to see what the impact is on the services and the recommendations there. Think of how that services would be, so, yes. Individual data for students, that providers keep a
Is that maybe we have access to aggregate data year to year?
I don't know.
It's supposed to.
Can we yield your time back to her, or what are we doing?
I yield back to the vice chair, Dr.
I also. Okay. First of all, thank you for being here. I was hearing about this. It was wonderful to hear. I know it's hard work and work with so many students. Your work. It was great to have us actually see your student in the program as well. So okay, a couple questions, comments. I also noticed the parent referral versus the school referral rate, and so just a little bit more on that. I was just curious in general, to hear that so many referrals were coming from parents instead of from the teachers. And I know, parents are often advocates, right? I'm also just wondering, just thinking about the process of the educators, them knowing when it is the right time and moving that forward, and to their educators who would be able to see those skills, and also, parents, right? Some parents are more aware of what they need to do, other parents are less aware of it. Does their student need to be referred? So I'm curious if you just
I can comment on that. I wish I had an exact number, and I don't, but I think would be valuable. Very often, when a parent referral in, the school has already understood there's something going on. The student is in the SST process. Like at the IEP process of eligibility, it takes time to collect the data to continue to move forward. So I wish I don't have a number, but I would say it's large. So of those 111 parent referrals, many of them were already in SST, but parents, right, and I'm a parent too, we're going to do anything we can to advocate for our child. They're not going to wait for the SST process to move forward. And so they put a referral in, they want things to happen now. And as Christine said, the SST process will continue. So that's a large number of that. I think as well, often Parents will just refer for their reasons that they feel they're advocating for the child, they want something more. And if they're not in the SST process begins again simultaneously. So I think the number is large from parent referral in that. I think often we get parent referrals after conferences, information that is shared at conferences and a parent's perspective of that often results in, and when I talk to them or they'll send me an email, based on information I heard at last night's parent conferences, my child is not progressing enough, I want them to be referred. My suspected area disability is, and so once a parent asks, I can call them and clarify things, but the process begins. So I think there's a lot of good work going on. I think, as I said, our SST process has improved at our buildings, and we continue to work on that. But I think oftentimes parents, and I get it because I'm a parent too, is unable to wait for the process to go forward, so they put the referral through.
It's great to hear that students are, for the most part, already are in. Also, the school is moving forward on it. And so that's good. Sure. I noticed programs, small group, classes are some of them are on both sides of town, which I think some districts only have them in one school. I think there's pros and cons to both. It's side of the district, but then if it's in just one, it can also help. It can also help with staffing needs or whatever. And so I'm just curious from that of the programs, do you see it as there's a need for like a full class at both, or about consolidate?
We look at that every year based on enrollment, what that looks like, and student need. So are we opening a program, are we closing a program based on the information, that we have here? I do think school with consolidation is huge for some of our programs. So the base class last year, so if student we try to minimize possible, but based on
and just the other questions, Dr. McCaldy, about, the biggest challenges and how can we support you? And I know staff retention is generally the biggest. That's true of all of special ed everywhere. It's not specific to Wilmington. There's a shortage. And I think something that's important for us to think about is that first of all, we all want our kids to receive the education they need, right, at the services and all that. So that's a priority for us here. Second, I think it's not enough just to have a program with a teacher. Students have to be getting instructional action that allows them to make adequate progress so that experience when there's a lot of, when it's hard to attract well-trained teachers, it's hard for the students then. I wonder if that's something that we may want to discuss more as a group, as to what those are and how we might support. It's a huge challenge out there.
to staffing, as to what we often.
All the professionals. It's great to hear, and I think that really makes
Separate.
Oh,
but
great.
We will be staff.
You should have the time.
Great.
Awesome.
Yeah, so just want to make a couple comments, a few things that have been brought up. First of all, the purpose of special ed, specialized instruction, teach children how to work around the issues. Just because they get an ed plan, it's not a magic he does. They still have to learn how to work around this. If you actually have a child that has a disability, maybe it's mild, but they have self-taught themselves how to work around the disability, that's actually good news. Okay, because eventually what is going to happen is they're going to leave the K-12 district and they are going to move out into the job force. They're going to only be doing accommodations, reasonable accommodations. We need to move kids to a point where they are self-sufficient. And that is a continuum. So just because someone needs something in third grade does not mean that they need the same specialized instruction in seventh grade or eighth grade because they're making progress. So if someone has a disability but is still making effective progress, the other piece that comes into that measurement is how much capacity they have. What is them meeting their potential? And there are different potentials. There's also developmental pieces that come involved here. Not everybody's brain develops at the same rate, okay? But that's what we need to do. If a child has a minor disability or has worked around it and is able to access the curriculum with their peers in the core classroom at grade level with accommodations, that's great news. They don't necessarily need specialized instruction. Parents who get upset because they don't get an ed plan have a kid who probably has a disability but is making effective progress, are working around. And there's a continuum. And I often draw a similarity to someone who has lost a leg. That leg is not growing back, okay, but the continuum is everything from being in a wheelchair to running in the Paralympics with a specialized prosthesis. And the goal is to get them to the max that they can accomplish. But if they don't qualify for an ed plan, even though they might have, minor disability, that's actually something we should be monitoring. They might need accommodations in the classroom, but that's actually good news. Because eventually they're going to have to run on their own, okay, without someone caring. This is the thing, and there is some struggle that goes along with it. But that actually is the goal. Otherwise, and we really need to celebrate the growth and the accomplishment that kids are doing when they have and how do we do that? You brought up pieces in the class, co-teaching, and having consistent relationships of co-teaching where you have those experts in specialized instruction in the core classroom working with teachers. Teachers pick that up. The other thing is Katie Novak's work with Universal Design for Learning, where all teachers are getting that base level of how do you make the core curriculum accessible to all of your kids, and that's very important.
Sure. So first of all, thank you both very much. Part of why I'm so excited about this is I really think we should take what you presented, cut it out of this media, package it as something we have available to the community broadly, perhaps with an intro or a conclusion or some other second program from CPAC. I think the amount of information you shared here about special education and the amount the general population doesn't know about special education, there's so much in this description of all the different types of programs and its impact, students' impact, budget, all these pieces. It's a fantastic thing that I think we should leverage long-term to just help the community understand what we do to help educate our students all across the need. So I really appreciate that, and I want to think about how we use this in some form, something we can share. I think part of what was really interesting was slide 6 and 5 and 6. With the growing needs, there's two angles to it, and sometimes people confuse the two pieces, and sometimes people misunderstand, particularly the fact that we're identifying earlier, we're identifying with better screening, means we're helping students who needed the help, and in the past we may have missed. So if we have a growing need of special education, we do a better job finding the kids who need the help. That is a very good thing. It doesn't reflect that, there are more children now than there used to be. It's the fact that we're identifying the ones who were there that we weren't serving. So I think that's a really important thing that sometimes gets missed in the fact that there is also growing need. Those two things kind of interplay together, And certainly coming with social media and with COVID and with all these other sorts of factors, the emotional side of it as well is clearly growing. But identification and doing it earlier and more often is a really good thing. So I wanted to make that point that we need to be careful with people who just say, oh, it's growing because there's a lot of different nuance to that. Exactly.
Good thing that
One request not is you mentioned in the school-based data meetings that one of the things you were able to identify talking to teachers in the class, in the buildings and the leadership buildings with both strengths and weaknesses. We can take some of that to inform some of our goals next year. Sounds like you're getting some really good things out of that, but if we leverage it to the next step of we're identifying, self-identifying things to work on goals. And then the last thing, kind of a different angle, but the same topic of the general education teachers who have a wide variety of accommodations that fluctuate from 1 year to the next. They may not see a particular accommodation for 5 years, and then they need to make it again because who's in their classroom, both in the elementary levels and in secondary levels. Teachers do so much already. Understanding how to accommodate different needs. It's the first time they've seen it in years. Sometimes they may think they are. And it's a question of, are they? Evaluating their practice, again, we ask so much of them. And having different children with different needs come through from 1 year to the next. Making sure, not just, yes, I'm accommodating them, but how? What are you doing? What's the practice? Make sure you're meeting these different needs is a lot on them and it's a lot on your office, but it's really important to make sure that we're being effective in accommodation. Just because we think we are doesn't mean it's not. So that's a difficult place, but I think it layers on top of some of the comments.
the deep
Vote.
one more comment on the early identification. You know, in the past, that higher grades in the past, there was often an idea of developmental now from research that's really not the case. Assuming that you can be better. So, like that higher identification, not special in general ed, special ed, working with those kids when they're young, right? That sets us up because what happened before was a lot of students who were grade now, and it's hard to intervene student at that age because the academic experience is so complex, right? So I wouldn't say that, you know, that's to that point, not available.
Two questions, I guess more comments that are connected to what Dr. Thompson a moment ago and also the first one is that I think it is really important that from the beginning of these processes that we establish a framing that the goals are going to change and the accommodations are going to change. And that when we say that like, oh, we think it's time to remove this goal because there's been, you know, effective, you know, progress towards it, that's, you know, the idea is not that we're trying to take something away from the student, but, you know, trying to give them the opportunity to show that they're ready for new goals and that they make progress, that it's not a static thing. And that, you know, having those discussions of, we think that so-and-so, that we don't need this accommodation anymore, or that we think that this accommodation should change as they show, again, more independence, that, you know, that wanting the, you know, the sort of the maximum number of goals or the maximum number of accommodations isn't necessarily real advocacy, that there's a really strong argument that advocating for the students is also the appropriate alteration and removal of accommodations and supports at the appropriate time when they make the appropriate progress, which kind of gets to Dr. Thompson's point. about, trying to, again, help them to ultimately function as well as possible with the sort of the minimum number of reasonable accommodations that they may need. And that over-accommodating in the end is not actually serving students. The second point I want to make, and this kind of goes to what Mr. Turner was just saying about goals and about looking at strengths and weaknesses, is that there's a lot of evaluation in education that, it's like all the teachers are evaluated, superintendent administrators, everyone gets evaluated. I don't know if we always, at least on a regular basis, think the same way about like programs and departments. But I think that would be a really important way to think about it, that at the same time that that we celebrate all the great things, like everything we're getting right in our special education programs broadly, that we also just think about where are our areas for growth. What are the things that we're not doing as well as we want? And just sort of consistently be thinking about putting those forward. And because it might not fall under one person's responsibility, even though obviously we have a coordinator of special education, a director of special education, and a director of assessment. It's something that's worth thinking about kind of more holistically. Of course, it also might be a little bit different building.
You want to be mindful of time while also not limiting our discussion at this little over. Other questions, comments?
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Collaborative approach here with our families. Thank you.
On that note, I'm sorry, on that note, well, I just have two things. Well, you mentioned families. I was wondering how families can get involved in has that been announced, or
So
how do they participate?
I had reached out to this.
Okay. And then my only other thing is, remembering student, so I know it's
I
out
didn't
there,
mention
but I didn't hear about it.
students. Yes, so that's also.
I don't know if we've considered student feedback. I don't think it's strict, but it's really useful to have survey data as well as focus group data.
I was wondering too if that's sometime survey, the old coordinated. So I'm not sure. Survey, so I can, the actual written survey. Yes, no. Looking forward to the students to hear their perspectives. Post-grad programs, inclusion. High school at this point. Thank you so much. Have a good night. Be well, everyone.
All right. Before we go to our next new business item, I do want to just take a very quick second and thank for making an effort to be with us. I know longer than I thought we were going to. For the attempt. That said, new business item B is first read of policies. I will turn it over to, assuming Mr. Agsdale, but I'll turn it over to the policy subcommittee to walk us through this.
Okay. So we have several policies to review. I'll mention that there also, in our last meeting, we reviewed several policies that we're not bringing here because they were identical to the MASC reference manual, and we saw no reason to change them or nothing about the MASC policy that we in those situations, those will just be updated to indicate that they were reviewed this year. Track of the on review. We don't match. So KBE, to begin with, relations with parent organizations. We are recommending essentially replacing our old policy with the MASC language. Part of that is including some information about conducting raffles and games of chance. We mentioned this the last meeting, that this is new guidance from the Attorney General, and this is also an issue of compliance. And also there's a section about that we have to comply with federal law relating to equity amongst genders in parent organizations. That language is generally kind of new and compliance-based. And broadly speaking, we thought that the new language is really connects more directly to what parent organizations are really about than the language that. That's essentially. Adopt the. I'll just move on unless people indicate that they have questions. For JJE, so this is student fundraising activities. Again, we are recommending replacing the text of our original policy here with the MAS version. Again, there is new language about raffles and student fundraising, which has to be in there. Compliance purposes. No. Yeah, some slight changes of language and in both cases, there's an indication of like, we don't necessarily love student fundraising and want to, broadly speaking, kind of like Ms. We don't want our students spending their time going around trying to raise money or solicit. Adopt the MASC version. IJOA is field trips. And there's substantial new language in the recommendation here from MASC. There was initially, the old policy had a lot of language, which you can see kind of crossed out here near the bottom, of almost skepticism towards field trips. Like the opening paragraphs was very much really have to make sure that it's educationally valuable and that it can't be done in some other way. And the new policy, I think, reflects more of where Massachusetts is, that like, no, field trips are valuable, and yes, they do have to be educationally valuable, and that's still in. You can see the fourth, number 4 in this policy, all trips contribute substantially to the educational program. So that idea is, of course, still there, but there's a little bit more of a positive spin on field trips, rather than not something to be looked at with side eye. You don't look askance at a field trip, but we're generally positive. There was also one thing that we wanted to add in there, which is that our old policy had language that, which you can see now in number 6, all students are provided with the necessary accommodations to experience field trip activities. That language is not in the MASC policy, but we thought that was an important part of our policy we wanted to carry forward. Essentially, we're recommending the MASC policy with that.
Comment. We still have teachers collecting cash check, credit card, money order, gold bullion to pay for field trips. And it's kind of crazy. We had one field trip recently where there's 200 students going and everyone was paying $100. One teacher collected that money, I had to maintain it and track it and submit it, and that doesn't seem like a good use of the teacher's time. So systematically, having some part of Access, part of Google Classroom, part of any IT solution, pay online, or do a check, or do whatever form of payment they want to do, it's not to the teacher organizing the field trip, seems like a step in the right direction in terms of the right use of technology and the right use of teacher's time. So it's a procedural topic that lays right on top of this one. I just wanted to raise it again, and I'll keep raising it until we get there. I've heard some stories about the amount of time involved in tracing and tracking and submitting.
And if I can tack on to that also, that if we could find a better IT-based solution for slips for field trips, then the parents of this district would sing high hosannas. Because, just the number of times that I have filled out the exact same information and the doctor and the health insurance number and the emergency contacts over and over and over again. A place where I don't have to do that is with athletic registration. I don't think it's called Family ID, or whatever we're using for for, athletic registrations, for ski club and for sports. It's just like, nope, that information is still there. Just, take my kid, anything that's changed, you change it, but you don't have to do the whole thing over again, thank God, or I don't think I would let my do that over.
To that point, some districts, the tool they use for field trip tuition forms also collects the money, also does sports, also does it. It's kind of a universal tool. But I think we can get there. Yes, budget, but we may be already halfway there with some of the tools. A bit of a divergence from policy. Valid point.
Okay, and next policy, IJOB, community resource person/speakers. We're only recommending a minor change of language here, which matches C, which is changing the phrase human resources to community resources. I don't know what it meant when this policy was originally written, but human resources has a different connotation from what we're getting at here. Not the HR department that we're inviting into the school. Minor change of that. Policy IKC, so this is ranking class, and when we looked at this one, we said this looks like a strange policy to be a policy. Detailed charts like this showing the weighting of grade point averages seem not like something that belongs in the policy manual. We're first also not sure that this is even accurate and up to date, but in any case, we recommend the removal of this policy, and this information should be in the high school handbook, not in policy. So we recommend the removal of policy IKFA. This policy is not in the MASC reference manual, and again, we recommend removal of this policy. Detailed information and procedures about who's allowed to participate in the graduation ceremony, to us, thought again, seemed like a handbook issue that should most likely be just handled at the school level, probably, with the principal. There's also something very odd about the way the policy is written, which is, as written, the school committee has final approval on whether students can participate in the graduation ceremony, which I think is a very odd thing. It doesn't seem to be under the purview of the school committee to make decisions about individual students participating in a graduation ceremony. That to me, that's an operational, again, the policy might be something, but I think that this is best removed and this issue is dealt with at the school level and then, super. So that was our recommendation. And then lastly, policy IL, we are also recommending removal. This was, again, not in the MASC reference manual. And looking through this policy, it is kind of a mess. There is just all kinds of weird stuff going on here. It seems to be looking for some kind of formal report on the effectiveness of the curriculum, but there's like a whole list of weird things that it might entail, including, State Department of Education specialists, whatever that is, regional accrediting associations, and other agencies, whoever that might be. There's a lot of vague things in here that if you actually try to pin down what this might mean, that it doesn't really seem to fit. The more I look at the details of this policy, it would either have to be substantially reworked, because again, it really just seems like an old policy doing anything like this. But I think that this is broadly covered in other areas. We are evaluating the success of our policies and our curriculum. There are other sections that we've looked at before that have to do with curriculum review, but not in the MASC manual, and would, I think, need substantial revision if we were going to. Didn't seem worthwhile.
So, KB, JJE, IJOA, IJOB are sort of amended and updated, and IKC, IKFA, and IL are suggested. Questions, comments? Nothing. We will see these again at our next meeting for second reading. Dr. Price?
We're very grateful.
Really seems to be very charged. We are grateful.
Having had the pleasure of this is not an instant work, and having somebody really sort of lead the charge is that's yes, and your team subcommittee as well. Driven.
Name the policy book.
We'll have to see what the new policy is.
Have to have a policy on that, meta policy.
Concluding the first read of policies, that brings us to variance analysis. Mr. Simmons.
Sure.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you.
Dan, can you help me out? Can you put up page 67? When you get a moment. Thank you. Oh, you have it as well?
It's in the,
All
yeah,
right,
it's in the
perfect. Thank you so much. Well, respecting your time and aptitude, I will not go over this line by line, but will highlight the common denominator drivers. So this is the variance analysis for the district as of February 28th, 2026. The total appropriation, or in layman's terms, the total allowed budget for the district to run the school operations is for this year $51,723,526. What's been expended thus far is $30,777,376. What's encumbered is $20,826,366. In layman's terms, what an encumbrance is when you pretty much can project an expense, you kind of lock it up and obligate it so that you don't overrun your budget. So the biggest encumbrance that the district has is that we know, based off of our contracts, what the salaries are going to be for teachers, for EAs, for AAs, for administrators. So we lock up that amount of money. And the way that an encumbrance works is once someone is paid, that encumbrance goes down and the expense goes up. So there's a direct relation. Our balance as of February 28th is $119,785, roughly in the black. So what we see below is the variance analysis, and the variance analysis shows what we budgeted and what's over the $2,500 threshold. And so, in short, or in summary, most cost centers are currently trending or near budget due to mid-year timing and account adjustments rather than discretionary or uncontrolled spending. These variances are primarily the result of reallocating expenses to align with actual staffing and operational needs, including shifting costs to the appropriate budget lines and grant accounts. As part of this process, special education tuition and transportation costs will be further offset through the application of circuit breaker funds, which will help rebalance the overall budget. Although I won't be with you next year, my recommendation internally to the staff is, as a best practice, is to periodically realign the approved budget to reflect current staffing and service levels throughout the year. This ensures that the budget remains aligned with actual conditions rather than relying solely on projections developed more than a year in advance, while maintaining no change to the overall bottom line of what was approved by the school committee, only to the allocation of funds. So as a few high-level drivers that are common across all cost centers, you see salary increases. Those are contractual raises, step movements, or lane changes. The second biggest driver that we see on here is substitutes, and that's for long-term subs, teachers, and EA contracted services. Now, that can be reflected as an offset of salaries. That's how the district currently does it. Or it can be reflected as contractual or contracted services. But those are the two main salary drivers. Most of these overruns, quote unquote, which isn't a true overrun, to the budget align along the salary lines and not along the non-salary lines. And the third common denominator that we'll also see in the salary lines is that budgeted elsewhere. So, for instance, you may have an EA who's scheduled to be at one school, but based off of the need, they shift over to another school. Well, the budget existed over here at school A, but now this EA is at school B. So we have to true up where they actually are to make sure that our costs align. For the non-salary, most of the expenses come from special education tuition and special education transportation. And what hasn't been used as an offset yet is the circuit breaker. What I will say about that is, while it looks, for those who may not know school finance, but Christine and Maureen Omara did such a great job talking about how it's such a fluid aspect of the district, whereby there may be a placement or an out, or we may have to send a kid out of district, from one day to the next. That 119,000 isn't really something that we can bank on. So what we do is we offset the transportation, special education transportation and tuition to the amount that we need, but not try to fully exhaust the amount. Special education tuition is going up at a number of different agencies next year. And so if we exhaust this full $2,539,000 that we have in here, it really doesn't give us a rainy day or a really projected need for the following year. So we use what we need to use for this year, and we don't act as if we have a $119,000 surplus, because more or less that will be used for, it could be used for hiring a teacher the following year. It could be used for, again, special education. So with that being said, I make my recommended motion at this point in time, as is the custom, to allow the Director of Administration and Finance, who happens to be me, to move the budgeted funds from the salary adjustment line to the proper line items to account for lane changes and contractual salary increases. And the second motion is to allow the Director of Administration and Finance, who happens to be me, to distribute the circuit breaker offset to the appropriate special education tuition and transportation line.
Make the motion. I would like to move that allow the, as Assistant Superintendent of Administration.
Well, that's not me. It's
Old language.
Right.
Yeah.
It's Director of Finance, salary, proper line. In change. Oh, sure, and
You have to do one.
Second. Discussion.
First of all, thank you very much for all of this. Thank you for all the work that was behind this earlier.
Yes.
One thing I appreciate your thoughts on, not tonight, but over the coming months. We've talked at different times about hiring building-based subs. So we have at least one or two people in each building as the first sub we need in the door, rather than having to go out and get people at whatever rate we need to. We have to go above and Is that best practice you recommend? Some districts do it, some districts don't. Certainly, you then have all the fully loaded employee costs along with building some longer term thinking, talked about it. It was requested by principals a few years back in the budget process, said no. But is it something we should evaluate?
Just one comment, so thank you for the nice overview. Two, one thing I did like what you said, just kind of want to you can see instead of once a year. So private sector quarterly budget check-ins basis really not going good. You have a monthly budget too, and it's just best practice because it's very hard to project it. And you can adjust things. It's seen things occur.
Unanimous. Thank you. Olin? I move to allow the administration and finance to distribute the circuit breaker offset to the appropriate.
Just a quick comment that, in addition to the reasons that Simmons explained why circuit breaker offset, full of flexibility, that it's not just a theoretical thing. We have many times over the years used a higher circuit breaker offset to allow us to then fund something that was unexpected that we needed to do in the budget. That's how we found the money to do some stuff that we needed to do past. Not very much, not just kind of like a theoretical. Consistently use that flexibility to enable us to cover costs.
Very, then
That would be quarterly.
favor? It's also unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Simmons. All right. That concludes new business. We have one item of old business. Committee met briefly this evening. As you'll recall, we executed a contract with our superintendent first. As part of that, we met to discuss a sort of side agreement with him that would allow him to work with the district for a number of days as he sort of ramps up and as part of his onboarding. So we need to bring that agreement back to the public meeting and vote on that. So we'll do that now. I don't, actually, it'll be a roll call, or can it just be a? That said then, would anybody like to make a motion? The, Holden?
I move that we approve the side agreement with.
Thank you. Second? Favor? Unanimous? That concludes old business, brings us to subcommittee reports. Dr. McCall.
Yeah, just two quick things from the outreach subcommittee. So one, myself and Mr. Golden, Friday night, marked ourselves at a table right outside the Mean Girls production. So it's the first time we kind of did our pilot run. So just want to thank Dr. Thompson, Jen, Porter, they're set up and everything like that. So yeah, we think it was a good first step. Definitely some room for improvement. I think we have to make maybe add some like signage or something like that saying, hey, help us. But also at the same time, we were talking about like, I used my personal experience. I used to work up where I used to be. And you may not get a lot of people there, but having that presence there, people then start to see us there more and then be like, okay, we know some school. So I think we can definitely be in touch for.
Thing. Last meeting is, hey, we're gonna be at this event, bring your question. You don't wanna come to our lovely hours, say hi to us. Just maybe they're, I know people think about something. But it was a really good first.
One more from Outreach Subcommittee. Myself and Jen met, Director of CTV, had a really great chat. Getting them more involved, everything too. So no action needed at this time. Thinking start. Yeah, doing a couple things, having some people after it's kind of video of like, hey, recap this happened, and of course over at the studio. Really great chat. Yeah. Yep.
Other subcommittees. Okay. Correspondence. Turner, future school committee dates and other notable items. School will be closed on Friday, April 3rd. April 8th, 2026, our next regular here at 6:00. April 9th, Wilmington Middle School and High School jazz bands, grades 6 through 12. High school, 14th, school building committee is meeting 6:30 p.m. All I would large meeting room. April 20th to 24th, April spring break, school vacation week, 9th. Yes,
Not here, but one thing that actually could have fallen tomorrow night. Building committee.
Right.
So a wrap up to this project. So good news, we have a wonderful space for our administration. So that is wrapping.
There and. Our next. Greg, sir.
Just one final comment that, I know that not a lot of people came immediately up to Nick at the Mean Girls presentation. I mean, possibly they were distracted by all the raffles and snacks and so forth. But I still think that I want to give them some credit because the Friday night performance set a record for attendance, selling 80% of the tickets for a high school production. And I mean, I think it might have been due to people coming out to see the school committee and the members, and then while they were there, suddenly realized that there was a show.
That's right.
They could see.
I'm sure that's what it was and not the other way around.
It's called the golden bump. Yeah.
Keen observation. Keen up.
All right. Anything else? Hearing nothing, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Golden, seconded by Mr. Ragsdale. All those in favor? Unanimous. Good night. Thank you.